Amidst the tremendous presentation of the universe, we falter on the cusp of earth-breaking divulgences that responsibility to change our perspective on the universe. The appearance of the James Webb Space Telescope develops the scope of our heavenly examination, inspecting further into the privileged insights of reality than any time expected, leaving on this new venture through J's knowing it will offer an individual check the strange early universe out. Thusly, it describes customary inestimable norms as we experience into this enlightening region. The mosaic of our comprehension fans out, uncovering eccentric plans and camouflage complexities that oblige us as we plunge deep into how James Webb just recognized gigantic designs that shouldn't exist. Can you imagine looking into a time machine, uncovering stories from age to work out emphatically? The James Webb Space Telescope has done essentially that. Its generally noteworthy deep-field picture, made from a mosaic of 690 man frames, portrays a fix of space in the colossal scoop's handle, generally on numerous occasions greater than its predecessor. It's like holding a colossal interstellar jigsaw puzzle where each piece is a particular universe from the early universe. These photos present a multi-layered, guileful dance of frameworks, some of which existed simply a large number of significant stretch of time after the enormous blast. Their frail sparkles are a calm affirmation to their distance and age, unveiled by the unmatched responsiveness of Joe, the near-infrared camera. This visible a tremendous jump in self-important examination, giving an excellent think again into the universe's end stories up to now. Perhaps the best divulgence in the past 100 long stretches of it is that our home, the universe, changes and creates with time, not just in minor insignificant ways like stars moving about, gas fogs pressing, and tremendous stars failing miserably in disastrous impacts. No, our whole universe has changed its fundamental individual at least a couple of times in the far-away past, totally adjusting its internal state at a worldwide, widespread scale. Take, for instance, the truth that at one time in the cloudy ill past, there were no stars. We know this basic reality in light of the fact that of the presence of the boundless microwave establishment, a shower of frail, however innovative radiation that drenches the entire universe. If you experience an irregular photon, a hint of light, there's a respectable opportunity it's from the tremendous microwave establishment. That light takes up more than 99.99% of all the radiation in the universe. It's an additional leftover from when the universe was just 270,000 years of age and advanced from a hot boiling plasma into a neutral soup with no positive or negative charge change, delivered white-hot radiation that all through the range of 13.8 billion years chilled and extended off into the microwaves, giving us the background light that we can identify today. At the time of the appearance of the galactic microwave establishment, the universe was around 1/1,000,000th its current volume and huge numbers of degrees really boiling. It was as well basically uniform, with thickness differentiates no more prominent than one segment in 100,000. So not definitively a state where stars could happily exist. In the time following the conveyance of the galactic microwave establishment, delicately known as WMX in space science circles, the universe was in an odd state. There was a steady shower of white-hot radiation, yet that radiation was rapidly cooling as the universe continued with its unwavering expansion. There was dark matter hanging out, disliking its own business, and there was the now neutral gas, basically hydrogen and helium, finally set liberated from its struggles with radiation and free to do whatever it pleased. What it fulfilled to do was to spend time with whatever amount of itself as anyone might think possible. Expectedly, it didn't have to buckle down. In the very early universe, little quantum instabilities extended to end up being just differences in thickness. And why that happened is a story for another day. These microscopic thickness contrasts didn't influence the greater cosmological expansion, yet they influenced the existences of that neutral hydrogen. Any fix that was to some degree denser than normal, even by a minimal little piece, had a to some degree more grounded gravitational draw on its neighbors. That enhanced pull urged more gas to join the party, which increased the gravitational force, which empowered even more neighbors, etc., like bright music at a neighborhood party, going similarly in alert tune to support more rarities all through a large number of years. The rich gas got more extreme, and the lamentable gas got less lucky through simple gravity. Little thickness contrast developed, building the first huge go of issue and depleting out their surroundings. Somewhere, some part of neutral hydrogen got lucky, keeping layers subsequent to overpowering layers on itself. The deepest center came to a critical temperature and density, driving complicated structure, touching off an atomic combination and changing over the rough substance into helium. That savage cycle produced a smidgen of energy, and in a flash, the first star was brought into the world. Interestingly, beginning from the underlying dozen minutes of the huge explosion, atomic reactions occurred in our universe, new sources of light specking the universe, flooding the once void voids with radiation. These new sources of radiation renewed the neutral hydrogen that filled the universe during the alleged epoch of reionization. Through gravity, bigger and more unpredictable designs arose, building a gigantic, tremendous embroidery of universes. Meanwhile, everything kept flying separated. The stargazer Edwin Hubble figured out during the 1920s that the universe is expanding, and in the late 1990s, his namesake, the Hubble Space Telescope, found evidence that the expansion is accelerating. Consider the universe a part of raisin bread. It begins as a mix of flour, water, yeast, and raisins. When you combine these ingredients, the yeast starts breathing, and the part starts to rise. The raisins inside it substitute for frameworks, extending further separated from each other as the part develops. The Hubble telescope saw that the part is rising ever faster. The raisins are flying separated at a rate that defies their gravitational interest. This speed increment gives off an impression of being driven by the ghastly energy of room itself, supposed faint energy, which is tended to by the Greek letter lambda. Plug values for lambda, cold faint matter, typical matter, and radiation into the states of Albert Einstein's overall hypothesis of relativity, and you get a model of how the universe fasters. The cold faint matter. One strategy for testing this picture is by looking at exceptionally far-off vast frameworks indistinguishable from looking back to the underlying very few 100 million years after the huge bang. The universe was more direct than its advancement, easier to dissect against assumptions. However, as analysts use James Webb to plunge into the initial segments of the universe, they found something that shouldn't exist. These astounding disclosures then put the scholarly neighborhood at a problem in that they ought to examine the very fundamentals of what they know about cosmology, expressly almost following the Webb telescope totally turned on in July 2022. James Webb's amazing infrared mindfulness uncovered the feeble shimmers of universes, obviously from the distant universe, that had shaped simply numerous and extensive stretches of time after the enormous blast. Space specialists had expected such achievement results to arise even more leisurely. Still, more than guessed, that was an explosion of data. Those early results occurred so quickly. In light of the fact that researchers used a shrewd simple course to check enormous distances, cosmologists for the most part stuck down boundless directions through authoritative lie estimating redshift, a stretching out of a universe's light toward the red end of the electromagnetic reach as an outcome of the universe's improvement. However, this requires the showing of gathering and inspecting an inestimable framework's reach, a time-consuming and subtle process known as spectroscopy. The James Webb Space Telescope's fire hose of disclosure was barely powered by crude, faster photometry-based methods that fundamentally use clear assortments in a framework's brilliance to check their red change. In this manner, while the photometric results came thick and fast the past summer, the spectroscopic outcomes have begun flowing though by a very narrow margin out as of presently. With spectra-based distances alongside from something like 12 candidates, scientists are finding that most assessments are matching the early photometric outcomes. The latest distributed in Nature stargazing affirmed earlier distance measures for additional systems recognized by the Far Deep Extragalactic Overview, as shown by Emma Curtis Pale of the School of Her in England, who drove the spectroscopic outcomes concentrate on. We have been believing that this will have the choice to do it inside the primary beginning relatively few months of this telescope. It was only incredible. Of the four, the most far off is brought together with the somewhat lumbering named Gansey. It has a redshift worth of 132, meaning we are seeing the framework as it showed up just 320 million years after the fact, making Jade Zero the most distant as of now known in the universe, a record that the James Webb Space Telescope seems set to break again. Yet one unavoidably that highlights space specialists' atomic centers together in an energized manner. We as of now know for explicit we are trying a period of the universe no human has at any point checked out prior. The stunning, says Peter Van Doom of Yale School. This astronomical framework, he interestingly notes, is simply hardly more settled for our perspective than the outright time sharks have existed on Earth, roughly 300 million years. As such, you go from nothing to these undeniable universes in the flicker of an eye. Not all high redshift contender inestimable frameworks have been so lucky, which features cosmologists' early care. In July, another outline called the Endless Progression Early Release Science Audit drove by Felstein, no matter what a potential universe at a redshift of 164 just 240 million years after the tremendous explosion. Coming about spectroscopy has shown that remittance was misguided, as uncovered in late walk-in research drove by Pablo Araberos, and cosmologist at the National Science Foundation. Nor LARP, the world is all things considered a dusty joke, arranged at a redshift of 49, still perfect, however not in any way, shape, or form record-breaking. 2 billion years after the colossal blast, raised levels of star advancement are made sure to have tangled early photometric examination. As Colm Donan of the School of Edinburgh in Scotland, a co-maker on the work, figures, we can be easily deceived by pollution. A high redshift universe can be replicated by a lower redshift infinite framework with different features. The potential gain news is that this particular universe gives off an impression of being an unprecedented case. Donna says, the same survey had the choice to confirm that 2 other candidate universes didn't have a comparable issue. One of these is Mother's framework, which is seen at a redshift of 114, around 400 million years after the gigantic explosion. Now that such universes are being asserted, their coherent ideas can be even more totally researched. These universes are little, an enormous number of times more modest than the smooth way, yet some appear exceptionally splendid and tremendous and have high star formation rates like that of our world, which forms roughly 1 new star consistently. While the universes try not to yet introduce issues for driving models of cosmology, they suggest vast improvements started previously and proceeded shockingly rapidly in the universe, which researchers had beforehand expected began creating universes primed and ready age of 1 billion years after the tremendous explosion. We're seeing a climb of colossal cosmic systems faster than we normally suspected beforehand, says Fabio Pei of the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Space Science. The times of a piece of these early frameworks are surveyed at just a large number of years. This could have suggestions for colossal plans of faint matter known as crowns that scratched early universes and for faint matter particles themselves, like Sandra Torella of the School of Cambridge expresses. One of the gigantic open requests is faint matter. The beginning of cosmic systems is a sensitive test for various dark matter models. Some precarious and perhaps model-busting early universe up-and-coming universes actually remain. First among them may be a class of infinite frameworks recognized by abhorrent Labby of the Swindon School of Development in Australia and his partners. The gathering found universes with billions of solar masses, basically indistinguishable in weight to the smooth way from just an expected 750 million years after the tremendous explosion. These universes are tended to on different occasions more prominent than universes as of late tracked down in this period and are squeezed into structures on various occasions more unassuming than the smooth way. They're small, but they're enormous, says Labby, who says Joe is proceeding to find equivalent frameworks fundamentally any place it significantly scans overhead. For the time being, the universes have, so to speak, been concentrated by photometry with spectroscopic examination.